finally time to talk about one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year of 2025 together. I was very successful in avoiding all trailers. I did see like clips here and there. I even edited some clips into one of my videos, as you know. I'm very excited to get into it today. We have a lot to talk about. Likes, dislikes, and spoilers will all be in this video naturally, and a bit of controversy, information about a controversy slash lawsuit that is happening with this movie. But before we get into it, did you guys know I wear a scent every single time I film to really get in the zone? Today I am wearing Sheer Violet from Kitsch, which is actually the sponsor of today's video. Now this is a hair perfume. They are mostly known for their hair care products, and I am personally working on growing my hair. As you might have noticed, I haven't chopped it in a while, but I am growing out a mom chop that I did a little over a year ago. And Kitsch has been really helpful in keeping my hair healthy and strong. I do get a lot of comments on what color my hair is, how I keep it healthy looking, and all of that, even though this is not my natural hair color. Surprise. I do dye my hair red. So I especially need a little bit of extra care when it comes to the health of my hair. I specifically love their rice water protein shampoo and conditioner bars. They help keep my ends from splitting and breaking even further, and just makes my hair feel so clean and so healthy looking. And I feel like it doesn't give me the weird like flyaways. I don't know if it has to do with the porosity of my hair, but like I get a lot of, I don't know, breakage or something going on throughout my hair. But when I use the rice water protein shampoo, it just smooths everything out on top of making my hair feel strong and healthy. I also really love that they're solid bars, so they are not only better for my hair, they're better for the environment because it has less plastic packaging. They have a ton of other products too that I actually really love and use. Their hair wax stick is incredible. They have a leave-in conditioner that's great. They have a rosemary oil for your scalp and hair. So it really depends on your hair needs, your hair type, and all of that jazz. But I have also been really loving, you guys know I'm really into fragrance right now, these hair perfumes, which I'm not gonna lie, I use as body sprays as well. I put them all over. Sheer Violet is my favorite. I love a good floral, and then they also have tart cherry and warm sugar. They all smell incredible. Kitsch ships within the US as well as internationally in over 90 countries, and I think they're really affordable as well, because with my discount code you can get each bar for around $11, or you can get the set for $21. So make sure to use the link in my description down below to get 25% off your first order. The discount code will automatically apply at checkout for you. All right, let's get into the movie together. Now this is directed by Michael Shanks, which I believe this is his first film that he's directed. He's done a couple shorts and TV series, but this is his first full-length movie. Of course, this stars real-life couple Dave Franco and Alison Brie, which really created a unique dynamic in this movie, which we'll talk about a little bit later when I get into like my own thoughts, my personal thoughts about the movie. Now, this was picked up by distributor Neon, which I think is a really good fit for them. This is definitely their kind of movie that they typically distribute or, you know, pick up. Years into their relationship, Tim and Millie find themselves at a crossroads when they move to the countryside, abandoning all that is familiar in their lives except each other. With tensions already flaring, a nightmarish encounter with a mysterious, unnatural force threatens to corrupt their lives, their love, and their flesh. Let's get into the controversy first, and then I'll have timestamps for chapters in this video linked down below if you want to jump around, you don't care about certain things, but I really want to talk about the controversy slash lawsuit that is going on around this movie. It just wouldn't feel right knowing about it and then just doing a review without mentioning it or even talking about it. And obviously it's going to be personal preference whether you want to support this movie or, you know, follow the lawsuit or anything like that. So I totally respect everyone's decisions and opinions when it comes to this. So there is a current copyright infringement lawsuit that is from Studio Fest towards Dave Franco and Alison Brie and others who are involved in making the film together. Now, the lawsuit claims that they stole the story and the characters from a 2023 movie called Better Half. And this follows two people who have a one-night stand, and that results in their bodies being fused together. So we could probably see the similarities with this movie together and Better Half. Now, Better Half is described as a comedy romance movie, and I could not find it anywhere. I don't think you can stream it anywhere. You can't rent it. I was debating watching it before filming this review just to have a better perspective if it did indeed fully copy that movie. Because conceptually you can say, yeah, it's very, very similar, but no one can really watch this movie. No one can find it. So I can't really form a full opinion about it because I can't see the movie myself yet. Based on the description of Better Half and the genre description of comedy romance, it does seem to be a tad different. Okay, obviously Together leans very much more horror. They both probably have the body horror going on. To what extent the tone of the movies are similar, I'm not sure. But also the characters seem different. The story in general seems a little bit different because it's a one-night stand versus this couple who's been together for like 10 plus years. Now, what makes this case interesting is allegedly this script was brought to Allison and Dave and they were pitched it and offered to star in it. However, they turned it down and because they wanted to produce it themselves. And the director, Michael Shanks, has denied all of these allegations and said that he wrote and registered this script back in 2019 and it is originally based on his relationship with his own wife. And then he took the script and pitched it to Dave Franco and then they went forward with that. So I'm not sure what truth there is out there or if Allison Brie and Dave Franco were approached with this script originally for the movie Better Half, but didn't want to partake in it because they wanted more control over the script and everything. I'm not sure. I don't really know, but that's all I do know based on my research, my quick research that I did into this lawsuit, but I did want to discuss that so you are all aware that that is what is happening behind the scenes. Now, as for the actual movie, let's talk about my review. We're gonna do this traditionally, what I liked and what I didn't like, because there are some standout things that I really did not like that I want to talk about more in depth. But given that, a lot of it will be in spoilers. Details I'll keep for spoilers, but I'll briefly go over the things I liked and didn't like first. So let's talk about the real couple. That's something I really liked. I liked that Allison and Dave could be in this together because it just felt very natural, I feel like. But there was still a disconnect with them, which I think was great for the actual roles and like the character dynamic of the actual movie. Because within the story that we have this tension between this couple because they're not sure what to do moving forward for their future. But it makes for a very believable scenario. The characters are believable. Their passion for each other is obviously believable. So all of that I think really worked in favor for this movie. And it was probably a good idea because they had to wear prosthetics that had them attached to each other so that they had to continue to wear for hours and they had to take bathroom breaks together. So it's good they already had that established relationship there so they could be a little closer. I loved the body horror. Okay, I have seen a lot of people compare this to The Substance and like say which one is better than the other. They're different, okay? In pretty much every way. I think they both are a little derivative of other body horror movies. The Thing being a major one. I think you just can't do body horror without most audiences thinking about The Thing. Is that just me? Because there's certain shots that were like, that's The Thing. You can see the inspiration there. And I don't hate that. I don't hate that it feels inspired by other things. That's fun, you know, as a movie lover, and I love The Thing. And I could definitely see why this is being compared to The Substance. I think there are definitely some similarities, but I would not go so far as to say, like, if you like The Substance, you would like Together, because they're very different in tone and it just is a different story completely. I just realized Wendy's face is like completely distorted. There she is. She's like looking a little sad down there. There we go. So it's not the most original story. Controversy and lawsuit aside, of course, I think there are some elements to this that are very, very inspired by other things. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is an original story. Again, controversy aside, I don't know how original. I don't know details. That's gonna come down to like personal opinion at the end of the day. I did really enjoy the story. I was really engaged with this movie. I was really into it. I think it's really fast paced and there's always something going on and you genuinely care about this character dynamic between the two. It's a very interesting dynamic, definitely. The horror elements were fantastic. Okay, I loved the horror elements, although You know, if you've been a viewer for a long time, you know what I'm going to say about that, which will be reserved for spoilers / we'll talk about it in things I didn't like. There are some things I did not like about the horror elements, which we'll talk about, but besides that, loved it. Loved the horror. I think it really had a lot of variety. It wasn't just a body horror movie. I think that there was conceptual horror, things that were very uncomfortable. It definitely had some unsettling visuals on top of that, and it just had this weird energy around a lot of the scenes, not just because we're looking at body horror elements and like things like that. Not gore. This isn't a gory movie actually, pretty much at all. There's not a ton of blood. There's a couple little moments here and there, but for the most part, it's just straightforward body horror. I like all the technical aspects. I don't feel like I need to get into that. Everything was pretty fine. It was competently made, you know, all of that was good. I liked the lighting, I liked the setting, I liked the performances, I liked all of that. All of that was great. No critiques. But let's talk about my critiques. Let's get into the things I did not like. So let's start with the couple of horror elements that this happens in the beginning, so it's not necessarily a major spoiler, but dream sequences. Pet peeve of mine. I just think dream sequences can lean towards being a little bit of a cop-out. They were understandable in this story and the way that they did them in this movie. Like I understand why they went with the dream sequences to be able to get the visuals that we needed. And it was only a couple of times that this was the case. And then obviously the horror picked up elsewhere in the movie and like continued. So it was fine. It was like twice that it was just, we had to do it in a dream, and that's just a pet peeve. I wish I could, you know, I don't know really how you'd work around that for this movie in particular, but I liked the visuals. They were great, so I'm not like too mad about it, but I was a little nervous after it happened the second time. I was like, how much horror are we getting here? The characters made stupid choices. I personally could not get past the fact that these characters acted the complete opposite of how I would personally act. And again, that is a personality difference there, okay? They were obviously very different people, but they kept making these choices that I just could not relate to at all. And so therefore I could not, it wasn't believable to me in those moments. And there were a couple things that I think they could have changed for the sake of making it a little bit more believable, and honestly would have added a little bit more tension. Specifics and spoilers, but I think there was a way around some of these decisions, because I get it, it's a movie, we got to keep it going, we got to get to where we need to go to cause the climax of the movie, we got to get there. But at the same time, I think there's a way around it, and it could have been pretty simplified. I don't know. Just to avoid the dumb mistakes that characters were making. I could not relate. There is an unsupportive partner trope in this, and honestly, Millie was kind of unlikable, not gonna lie. That was another thing. I feel like it also wasn't believable because she was so unsupportive, and I get it. She's worn down by the years of this relationship, and they don't know if it's going to work or not, and they don't know if they want to leave or whatever. I understand there's that element going on, but I think regardless of that, if your partner, Tim, was acting this way and like these things were happening, I think you would take it a little bit more seriously. I don't know. And you would like be a little bit more understanding and sympathetic towards his struggles. I feel like she was completely cold, and you know, they're not a perfect couple. He's not a perfect couple. Arguably, neither of them are really likable. They're interesting to watch in a movie for entertainment purposes, but I don't know if they're like likable as people. You know, I'm not saying I'm a better person and I'd be above all that and I would, you know, be the most understanding. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'd do in that situation, but I just feel like sometimes she was a little bit cruel, and when he was like struggling. I would say a lot of the plot was a tad predictable and a little bit repetitive. I think it got a little repetitive, I'm not gonna lie. And the predictability isn't necessarily like it's not something I dislike about the movie. It's just something I wanted to point out, that you see where the movie is going, you know, throughout. And it's not like you see things happening, you know, 10 minutes ahead of time or even 30 minutes. It's more like a couple minutes before it happens. So it doesn't completely ruin the moment, because you still have this, you know, revelation moment yourself that you know what's about to happen. But then it kind of takes the wind out of that event a little bit, and the reveal, or like the moment it's a little bit taken down a notch because you've kind of saw it coming a couple minutes ago. And then the repetitiveness of the story, I feel like it wasn't it was escalating and you know, it does, but I feel like it was still the same kind of reactions, the same decisions, things happening. It felt kind of repetitive over time. Overall, I still really love this movie. I loved watching this movie. I can't wait to rewatch this movie. I think it has really high rewatchability, so I will definitely be owning this one on DVD. And despite my criticisms and things about this movie, it really didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie, which is ultimately what I want. We watch movies for entertainment. So as long as I'm entertained and I'm having a good time and I'm really into the story and the body horror is good and like the horror elements are there, yeah, I loved the movie, even if it had its flaws. Pepe decided to join. So overall, I would give this movie a 4 out of 5. Despite its faults or despite my criticisms, I had a great time watching this. So let's get into spoilers now, shall we? And I highly recommend not watching it if you are even debating watching this movie, because, or honestly the whole video, because I just think going in with as little information as possible is the way to go. So let's get into a little bit of the predictability of the things that I kind of saw coming prior to the scenes actually happening, and just overall the story of the movie. They get stuck and pull apart. They get stuck again and they pull apart, and they get stuck again. That's the repeated theme throughout, right? They are constantly being drawn to each other and stuck to each other. So we know how it's going to end. It's either going to be in death or they permanently get fused together. And I thought for sure they're not gonna do a movie like this and not have them fused together. There's just no way they're not gonna go that route, because why would you even attempt a theme like that if you aren't gonna fully commit to it? So I knew there was no way they weren't going to do that, even though they had the fake out scene of Millie dying. The plan was Tim was gonna kill himself, and then Millie had gotten cut earlier from the neighbor, right? And she bled out, so she died, and Tim stopped the bleeding by fusing his hand into her arm to stop it, and so they were stuck again. And that's when they decided to just fuse together permanently. But I didn't think that the end would really be her just bleeding out and that would be the end of it. Like, there was just no way they weren't gonna show them being fused. That was gonna be a scene in the movie, and I was correct, and that was a scene in the movie. And I think that's one of the reasons why it reminded people of The Substance. There's also a couple in the original Pit that looked a lot like The Substance meets The Thing, which I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then I didn't expect them to become a mixture of both people, so the final shot was a little bit funny to me because I was just a little bit goofy. It's a goofy ending, I think, because I laughed at it. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at it, but I did, because I was like, oh, it's both of them now. I thought it would be like they fuse into one body and then they're both in there. I don't know. So another predictable plot point is as soon as they showed the picture when she went to visit her neighbor slash coworker, and they showed the picture of the two men fishing or whatever, I was like, I know what's happening here. And then in the same scene or a little bit later, it showed him wearing 2 rings. I was like, he's 2 people. They fused. They came together. He's a part of this cult. So let's talk about the stupid choices. Stupid choices. Firstly, drinking the damn water. What are you doing? I would literally hit Ryan if he tried to drink water from this pit. You're not permanently stuck. What are you doing? Can't you just wait it out? There's rain. I'd rather drink the rainwater. Collect the rainwater and drink that than the random water, still water in this cave. And they know that they're apparently not stranded because they decide to wait it out. They wait out the storm and they sleep in there. Again, interesting choice to me. You know what I would have done? I would have climbed back up in the rain. I know it probably would have been a little slippery, but I would have walked home in the damn rain. It's just rain. It's just the water. What I honestly feel like this is how you would have been able to work around all of that, okay? You have them fall into the pit of water. They come up coughing it out, okay? They've swallowed a little bit. And maybe it's because they wanted only one of them to drink the water to give that tension between the couple, because she obviously didn't drink it. And so he felt a pull towards her and she wasn't feeling that for some reason. It's because she didn't drink the water. So I get you didn't want both of them to fall in the water. You could have had one fall in the water and like the other one help him out, you know, of the cave, the pit. And then they have to hike back in the rain all flustered and stressed out and they're fighting. That would have added tension. It's rain, it's pouring rain. Obviously they're gonna fight, they're frustrated, whatever. That you could have just changed the scene a little bit to make it a little bit more believable. I just do not believe you would fall into that pit and be like, oh, I'm thirsty. Let me drink this still water in this puddle here. And then let's sleep here. Let's take the night. I love camping. I love nature. I love going on hikes. I would not sleep in there. I would not sleep in a random pit that seems creepy with church pews in the walls. Sorry, I had to go on a little bit of a rant about that choice because it didn't make sense to me. Could not relate to it. It wasn't accurate. I feel like, let me know if you would have drank the water and slept in that pit. Leave a comment. Let me know if I'm alone in thinking that was stupid. What wasn't stupid was what they did with the beautiful couple in that pit. So he goes in there later to get answers. He knows that that couple is in there. And were they just there the whole time? They slept in the pit for like hours, okay, waiting the storm out. He goes in there for a couple of minutes and they come on out. Where were they? Where were they? In the first scene? I just realized, where were they? Let me know if I missed something or if that was like explained at some point in the movie, but I'm thinking I don't know. I don't know why they would have come out in the second scene in the pit and not the first time. Anyway, regardless, they were obviously fusing together. They couldn't fight it anymore and the boyfriend of that couple decided to kill himself. And so he's in the neck, okay? He dies while they're partially fused. She's still alive. The concept of that, and that was a common theme throughout the movie. It's mentioned a couple times of like living with something that's dead. And so Tim was talking about living with a dead rat in the walls. And then his mom was living with her dead husband in the bed. And then there's like a subtle theme of like them living with their dead relationship. So something about living with the dead. And then that was really finalized with the couple. Okay, she had to just live that way. And it was traumatic. That was by far the scariest and most upsetting scene out of the whole movie, was the girl who was still alive attached to her dead boyfriend. I'm not really sure what they're saying with that theme or like what their intent is or their message, if there is one, because it came up a lot. I don't know if it's just a statement or what. Let me know your interpretations of that theme in the comments, of course. That's basically all my thoughts for this movie. I loved it still. Okay, there's some stupid choices from the characters, but I have seen worse. I like a lot of stupider movies, okay? I'm not gonna pretend like I have great taste in horror movies all of the time, okay? I like some bad ones here and there. I don't think this is bad. Genuinely do not think this is bad in any capacity. I think it is so good. Great entertainment level and good body horror. So it really is all I could ask for this movie. It wasn't a perfect movie, which is why it's not getting a 5 out of 5, but it was great. It was enjoyable. So I would love to hear your thoughts on Together down below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.